more glugging in the background. That seems to be the introduction to all of our episodes now, Bryce. Hello and welcome to a special episode of the Historical Movies podcast because, Bryce, we've done 25 movies now. And so we thought we'd take a little break and open up our mailbag.
It's time to open up that bulging mailbag.
Here it is. And see what people have been asking and saying with comments, with letters, emails. So I've got a mix of things here that I'm going to put to you and we'll answer them together. So the first question is from Benedict Brownlord. Do you prefer melting Hitler in Inglourious Bastards or sweaty Hitler in Downfall?
Well, is it Benjamin? Sorry.
Benedict Brownlord.
Benedict, I'm sorry. BB.
Yeah.
What a question.
Yeah, to start off.
Wow.
Yeah. Hang on, for a point of order, Hitler doesn't melt in Inglourious Bastards, does he? He gets shot. He gets shot so many times.
I thought he melted to death in the fire in the cinema.
He doesn't melt. When you say melt, I'm thinking of the Nazi in the Raiders of the Lost Ark who melts when they open the covenant.
Maybe old BB has confused the two things there. But, I mean, listen, BB, this is a serious podcast.
Yeah.
And obviously, Downfall is I would say a serious, despite being memed to bejesus. Is that the right term?
Yeah.
It was memed to the cows come home.
Yeah.
It's a serious, I think, historical portrayal, whereas obviously Inglourious Bastards is anything but. Mm-hmm. Albeit being, in my opinion, one of the greatest movies ever made.
So are you going for sweaty Hitler then?
I'm going for sweaty Hitler.
Yeah.
I presume he means that scene, well, the various scenes where Hitler, drug-addled Hitler, as is now well documented, is shaking, sweating, tremblingly taking off his glasses and generally losing it.
Bruno Ganz.
Is that what he's referring to?
I think that's what he's referring to. Under stress Hitler.
Of course, that's the, that is, of course, that's a more faithful Hitler.
I'm just thinking now, which actor gives the best Hitler performance? I think it is actually Bruno Ganz is the one in Downfall. I think he's dead now, isn't he? I think he's Austrian.
Is he?
Yeah.
He's a great.
But let's not forget, of course, Anthony Hopkins portrayed him in The Bunker.
Yes.
Well, I've never seen it. It's a TV movie.
Seen that.
And Robert Carlyle portrays him in Hitler: The Rise of Evil, TV series from the early 2000s. Have you seen that? I watched that when it came out.
No.
I think he just has an English accent. I don't think he's there Glaswegianing around.
There's some quite strong similarities between Begbie of the Irvin Welsh character.
He got off on people.
Various Irvin Welsh novels, and of course, Trainspotting and Trainspotting T2, and The Evil of Hitler. Sure. I hope listeners will excuse me munching on a cracker with brie. I've come in after addressing the Women's Institute this evening at a golf club, and I'm a little hungry and parched. So there's a little bit of that.
So we've got the cheese and crackers out, and a drop of red wine. So we've definitively answered Benedict Brownlord's question. It's Bruno Ganz is the best portrayal of Hitler in the film Downfall.
Listen, Bruno, this is a serious podcast.
Benedict. Did I say Bruno? Benedict.
Right,
I'm getting confused.
This is a serious podcast.
Yeah.
Come on.
Next question from Mary Blast writes, in your Mississippi Burning episode, you discussed the satisfying Hackman nut grab scene. What are some examples of historical figures you would like to have had sorted out by prehension of the testicles initiated by the late Mr. Hackman?
That's a bit of that's quite the question. Wow.
Well, we just talked about Hitler, I think.
I'm going to answer a different question. The greatest nut grab I think of in any movie is in one of my favourite movies of all time, The Departed, which is in a way a historical movie. When Alec Baldwin famously is giving a briefing on microprocessors. I don't know what they are. You don't know what they are. And then Extreme Machismo grabs his nether regions in his address to the assembled feds and police as a sort of just let's go and get him.
I must say I haven't seen that movie, which is dreadful because it's one of those. I've been told by so many different people. I hate it when people would go, "Oh God, you haven't seen that movie." I never do that, but I've been told by so many people that I should watch that movie.
Well, you should, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I know that wasn't the question, but that's the question I'm going to choose to answer.
Yeah.
It's the greatest nut grab
in cinema history.
In cinema history.
Okay. Not better than the Hackman nut grab in Mississippi Burning.
Oh, sorry. Baldwin's grabbing his own nuts. Obviously, Hackman grabs the racist policeman's nuts.
Yep.
What do you think about this whole question?
I think it's a bit of a stupid question, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. Pat Prince writes, what's the best Napoleon film? Did you know Brando has played Napoleon? 1954's Desiree. He refused to shave off his sideburns and even suggested that Napoleon's military coat should be made of denim because he thought it would be more comfortable. That's true.
Is that true? Did you check that? Has that been verified?
Yeah, it's true. What would you say to Bryce UK? What would you say to Pat Prince?
I'm sorry, I'm suffering the after effects of the Women's Institute. I didn't know. I'll hold my hands up. I didn't know.
No, I've never heard of it. I had to look up the movie. Apparently, it's like a love triangle.
I'd like to see that.
We'll put it on the list of things to do. Apropos lists of movies to do. Seriously, our list. A lot of people who've requested movies have requested Troy, which is not, of course, a historical adaptation, but a lot of people want to see us talk about that. We've also had Bridge of Spies, Cry Freedom, Dances with Wolves, and that also brings me neatly on to The Conqueror, where John Wayne plays Genghis Khan. We've also been requested to do that.
Kevin Costner.
No? Why not?
I don't like him in anything I've ever seen him in, and he's done quite a few historical pieces, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So I suppose we're going to have to cover them. Grand. Yeah, John Wayne playing Genghis Khan. How have we let that one slip?
Yeah, well, I think we do that. It's 100th episode. I've got a question. I've a question from me, Bryce, because I was thinking, John Wayne as Genghis Khan, is it the worst possible historical casting? And I've looked up some bad historical castings. So obviously we've got Colin Farrell as Alexander the Great in Alexander. Did you know Richard Burton played Alexander the Great in a 1956 film called Alexander the Great?
I didn't know that.
And also Kirk Douglas as Vincent van Gogh in Lust for Life, also in 1956. Well, so that's 3 movies from 1956.
Add them to the list. I mean, I know this is just showing like serious gaps in our back catalogue, isn't it?
Yeah. On that point, someone on YouTube writes, whose name is almost impronounceable, at Ichthyonkos VDS, acting like you don't know who Jason Mimosa is in this day and age. Come on. For a wannabe movie critic like these podcasters, it's discrediting.
Well, okay, I'll take this. I'll address this one. Excuse me for trying to add a bit of levity to proceedings. Jason, his name is Jason Momoa. And, okay.
Sorry, mimosas in inverted commas. So you said that in the episode.
I'm aware of that, yeah.
Okay.
Is this guy from the Jason Momoa fan club or something?
I don't know. It's a YouTube comment. I don't know.
And what's his name again?
At Ichthyonikos VDS.
Okay, at Ichthyonikos VDS, if that is your real name. You answer me this question. Do you regard Jason Momoa as a credible actor? That's all I'll ask you.
We've also on the set. That's our 10,000 BC episode, I think. It was also suggested to us that we should check out 20,000 BC.
No thanks.
Well, it's actually a porno. It's BC. That's serious. BC stands for before clothes. Here's the description: a man travels back in time and meets prehistoric cave people who are often nude. That's a real movie. Wow. So right.
We're a family podcast. We're not going to be covering that.
Blue movies not welcome. Sue Clunkford writes, which historical movie would you like to be in and why?
Wow, what a question. We're going to have to think about that for a second. What about yourself?
I really want to see a historical, most slightly different answer. I'd really want to see a good historical movie, as Mark O'Connor said when he was on, the director, that set like a prehistoric, like tribal community. And I can't believe that hasn't been made. I think it's such a cinematic... you could make that so beautifully cinematic, that period. And you've got the natural, like, human infighting drama that a tribal society would create. I honestly can't believe that. Every film I know that features quote-unquote cavemen is rubbish, really. So that's what I That's the historical movie I'd like to see. Historical movie would I like to be in? I think, to be honest, because of basically the lack of advancement in dental care, I would say I would not want to be in any historical movie that takes place before 1920. I think the modern era is the best era to be alive in.
You're presuming that your dental...
No, I'm just using that as a metaphor to describe poor medical care. You know, I don't want to be trapped in a time...
You're literally imagining yourself on set. You see, this I think is the great problem with... When I listen to... There's some listeners who are not from sort of, Britain or Ireland might not know that there's a show, quite a famous British radio show called Desert Island Discs. Mm-hmm. And this is... I think you've hit upon a central question here, because the... Desert Island Discs is a format where celebrities come on and they are imagining a situation where they're cast adrift on a desert island.
Yeah.
And what books can you bring and what music would you bring with you? I think you get the collected works of Shakespeare and the Bible.
Yeah.
But then you have to choose your soundtrack if you can only bring a few songs to survive on this desert island with no other technology and a couple of books, right? Now, when I listen to that show... for me, quite obviously, it's a metaphor. What is your favourite music? That's the format of the show. Yep. Some people who are on that show take it very literally, because you can take an item to the island, and some people...
When they say like a sharp knife.
Well, exactly. What you're supposed to say, surely, I mean, I don't know. I often wonder, because surely you're supposed to say, what item would I bring? A picture of my wife.
Yeah, yeah.
But some people take it very literally. I'll bring a harpoon and a net. And I think you've kind of just done that there. Because I can't really understand what you're saying about 1920s dentistry here.
No, it wasn't that specific. What I'm saying
this is a fantastical question.
Yeah, it is. But my very, very poorly brought across point was that one of the things, honestly, one of my nightmares about living in history would be if you get ill and there's no medical...
The question is what historical... Movie.
Okay, not historical period. Okay,
you don't have to go back to the historical period with poor dentistry and
in that case,
all the rest.
Of all the movies we've done, I would absolutely have loved to have been on the set of Mutiny on the Bounty with Richard Harris and Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando standing in frame and just standing there and refusing to act
I
when
agree.
he was in a mood.
I agree. And of course, filming out in Tahiti.
Yeah. And he moved there, didn't he, Marlon Brando?
Who can blame
him? Fiona Buttress asks, in your 1917 episode, you rightly chastised Benedict Cumberbatch for his attitude and virtually incomprehensible pronunciation of the words fuck off.
Well, thank you, Fiona. I'm glad someone agrees with me on that one.
Do you think us Brits are why do you think us Brits are so often portrayed as out-of-touch, posh twats in American movies, and what can we do about it?
Because, what do you think?
I think it's basically because there's two stereotypes. You're either Cockney or you're upper class. Because there's a lack of a rigid class system in America. So American movies think that because of the British class system, you're either Cockney or upper class. And the reason I think of Cockney, I think it genuinely comes back to Mary Poppins, Dick Van Dyke. Cor blimey, Mary Poppins, and his Cockney accent in that. I think that's what made it famous.
I have a bit of a problem
with my theory
with Fiona's question, because I don't really... I find that whole Brits thing, which is a very sort of Americanism in some way. I personally would identify as Irish English. Yeah. So I don't really identify as a Brit. So
what can we do about it?
Well, I'm not in your club. Well, what do you think we can do about it?
Not a lot. I don't think there's a lot we can do about it. Abdullah Roundtree says, which movie...
Maybe, well, hang on, this is a serious point. Why does she think that is?
I don't know. She's asking us, Bryce. That's the format of the show.
Well, I'll give her a straight answer because of the general tyranny of the British Empire.
Yeah.
It's simple, isn't it? Bleeding the obvious.
So that because historically the imperialists were the British in America, of course, and most films are made in America.
Multiple modern contexts.
Yeah. So that's how they're portrayed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. Abdullah Roundtree says, which movie do you think... which movie... very, very poorly formatted question, which I'll just quickly rewrite. Which movie did you think you wouldn't like, but it turned out you did? Of all the movies we've done 25, and I thought I wouldn't like Marie Antoinette. Actually, a really good film, which we've covered. So that's the one for me. Of the 25 we've done, I'm not going to start listing films I was surprised at seeing.
It's good. Yeah, I don't want to be... I think maybe I'm coming across as too combative with a lot of these questions. Okay, let me think. What movie was I sort of pleasantly... So I think Mel Gibson's Apocalypto.
Oh, you didn't think you'd like that?
I think when I originally saw it, I just, the whole Mel Gibson thing and sort of... I think Mel Gibson is traversed sort of so much, and that movie's probably a bit better than people sort of would assume.
Yeah, I think it's a great solid movie. I think Mel I haven't seen his latest one, Flight Risk, but I think he only really delivers solid movies. I've got a Mel Gibson question. Mariana writes, thanks for all the Mel Gibson love. Which of his movies would you blast into space if it was the last thing that could be saved from an impending global apocalypse?
So Mariana is basically suggesting that a future, perhaps alien race, other form of civilization needs
Maybe.
to... The way though they blast certain... bizarrely, they blast certain like musical albums into...
I think, the Voyager probe, they put all kinds of music on it, modern pop music, Bach, I think like Chuck Berry's on there. And they sent all the... and it's like 1,000 images that they sent, and it's going through space.
Well, if Hollywood's taught me one thing about aliens, they're not gonna care. They're gonna be generally quite hostile and have a completely different bodily configuration, and certainly I don't even know if they have a cultural system.
I think that basically, Bryce, I think you're now taking this too literally. Okay. The question is basically, what's your favourite Mel Gibson movie?
Okay,
it doesn't specify
why can't
historically.
She just... I'm not having to go at our listeners. I'm not. But why can't you just say that?
That's the way it's written.
Braveheart.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think so.
Even though I think I ranked it lower than some of his other...
You are definitely lower than Apocalypto.
Yeah, but...
Yeah. I'd put it this way. I'd rather watch Braveheart right now than Apocalypto, personally.
So if the question is what Mel Gibson movie, gone to your head, you had to watch one right now?
No, the question is what's your favourite Mel Gibson movie, basically. It doesn't have to be historical. I think my favourite movie involving Mel Gibson might be Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, but that's not a historical movie, but it is a great movie, and fitting because the question asks about global apocalypse. So,
well, I think the question is preempting alien contact. So I think actually what's the most apt movie to capture a clash of civilizations would perhaps be Apocalypto.
Yeah. Roger Odbridge writes, The New World is a great movie. Still your favourite, Bryce? Is the question from Roger.
Yes, Roger.
Okay, moving on. Romeo Krebs says, what's one historical period or event that you think deserves a movie but hasn't been properly explored yet? That's a great question for you. I think that's actually a very interesting.
I think there are too many. I think there are too many to name. Honestly, I'm not trying to be facetious, but there are too many.
Have you got anything that you'd like to see
to list? I'd like to watch something decent about, for example, the Opium Wars.
Okay.
Has there been a movie about that, about the sort of European exploitation of China? I'm not quite sure. So. That's just one off the top of my head.
By getting them addicted to opium, basically. Wasn't that British foreign policy?
And exporting tea, etc.
Yeah.
Has there been something on that? I'm not sure. Maybe listeners could write in.
Just on a slightly weirder point, I've got to rewatch. One of the most interesting things I found is... historically is a CIA program called MK Ultra, which they did like in the 60s, 70s, where they were trying to use LSD and sleep deprivation and torture to ostensibly reprogram people's minds or remove their memories or try to get them to do something once triggered. And there is a film, of course, I have never seen a film about that. I'm also thinking about the Stargate remote viewing program, which is in The Men That Stare at Goats.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that movie.
Yeah, I don't remember it being very good. But I'd like to see. I don't think it is very good. But I'd like to actually see some movies about those weird experiments that the CIA did with those two things.
Yeah.
Really odd history, very fascinating, real history. I've never really seen it done. I think like the Ministerial Coach, it doesn't know how to deal with it because it's so bizarre. The idea that you can get psychic spies. I mean, it's just absolutely bananas.
Yeah.
That a lot of money was poured into that, whether it worked or not. So that's what I'd like to see. Full Staff 119 writes, you've covered roles by actors that were notoriously difficult to work with, such as Marlon Brando, Richard Harris, and Oliver Reed. If you had a casting couch time machine, which historical roles would best suit their on-set temperaments? I think he's saying historical bad boys.
Right.
We have mentioned Marlon Brando's already done Napoleon.
Okay, I'm just trying to get my head around this question, but I'm sort of preoccupied with his handle there. Falstaff, of course, a great Shakespearean character, a rotund, alcoholic, bon vivant type character himself, Falstaff. So yes, that kind of role would be leaning towards yes, your Oliver Reeds and your Brian Blesseds kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking on my feet here. I'm
more interested by the idea of a casting couch time machine, because there's Hot Tub Time Machine, the movie, and if you had a casting couch time machine, I'd actually find that more interesting.
Well, how would that work?
Well, you go a bit like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. You go back in time, and you would cast historical characters. I'm not quite sure for what at the minute, but we could sketch that out later. So
okay, but what? Excuse me. What is the question? He's asking what roles were made. Like
what historical roles would best fit Marlon Brando, Richard Harris, and Oliver Reed, given the fact that they were notoriously difficult to work with?
Well, I think the clue's in his name. I think Falstaff is a pretty good character.
Yeah.
For all of those fairly at different points rotund and drunken men.
Randy McQuail writes, Men of Harlech from Zulu is a great song. What are some other examples of Aled Jones-worthy church hymns you would like to see set to the backdrop of imperial colonialists mowing down indigenous tribes people?
Let me just take a moment there. Okay. I think his tongue's firmly in cheek here, isn't it? This correspondent.
Bill writes, what meal from a movie would you most like to eat?
That's really good. Well, I think my answer to that one would, I think, I don't know if we're ever going to do this historical movie in inverted commas, but in the whole Carry On pantheon, of course, you've got, is it Carry On Henry? Where Sid James portrays Henry VIII, the Oberon-haired, latterly rotund, tyrannical ruler of England. And I think, if memory serves, in nearly every scene, he sort of merrily, yet semi-psychotically, sort of chomping on like a chicken leg. You know, it's that Henry VIII version. Yeah. And
you've always wanted to be in like a sort of big medieval banquet.
Well, I've been in America, I think down in like places like Orlando, where they have these, medieval feast. I've never been. These like medieval jousting, feasting.
Oh, like medieval times.
Sort of places.
That's in a movie, isn't it? With I only know it from the movie. Is it The Cable Guy with
Jim Carrey?
Jim Carrey. They go to medieval times. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen them in real life. They do exist. Right. I've never been.
You've never been to one. I'd quite like to go to one.
I would quite like to go. So that's my answer there.
Yeah. What dost thou quaff thine mead or something? They say. I can't remember what they say.
Do you have to talk in medieval, early modern parlance?
I think they do. I think the waiters do, as far as I know. But I suppose in American accent.
That could get infuriating.
And finally, Bryce.
Go on.
To sum it up, we've had a letter from Mrs. Trellis of North Wales. She writes, Dear History Hit Podcast.
Oh dear, yeah.
I'm so impressed with the breadth of knowledge of your star presenter, Dean Snow. From the fibres per square inch of King John's matching hair shirt and chastity pants set, to the swing density to weight ratio of Henry VIII's favourite real tennis racket, and the hex colour code values of the dyes used in the Duke of Westminster's Battenberg cake recipe. Wow. Is he well connected or something? Yours royally, Mrs. Trellis, North Wales.
There you go.
What a way to end the show, I think.
Well, Mrs. Trellis, yeah, well, look here, you know, we doff our hats to our Lord and Master, Dan Snow. I believe that's who she's referring to.
Head boy, Dan, I think, yeah.
I believe he does
Snow.
have some familiar connection to wealthiest man in Britain. Was he?
I think he's married to
Westminster's daughter.
I think so.
If it's a serious question, I think there is.
I know.
I mean, what's she implying though? Is she implying some kind of nepotism that operates in the British legacy media? Well, surely not.
I don't know.
Surely not.
Yeah. Brilliant. If you'd like to complain about this episode of the Historical Movies Podcast, please write us an email or a letter. Bryce, thanks very much for joining me. That was great fun. Maybe we'll do this after we've done 50, another one after we've done 50 films. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Historical Movies Podcast. That's it for this episode of the Historical Movies Podcast. Don't forget to leave us a review on your chosen podcast platform. Spotify and Apple Podcasts make a huge difference to the algorithm. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to leave a comment or a like or subscribe. Thanks very much for listening. We'll see you in the next episode.